Hey there, everyone. Sorry for the lack of videos lately. Between life being just super busy and me getting ill for the last 3 weeks with a pretty nasty cold and then getting injured at work, I haven't had too much time for games lately. Sorry, I'll try not to hack my guts out during this video. And another thing, just as well, like I have a 2-year-old daughter at home, and she's autistic, and I try to spend as much time as possible with her. As if she's awake, I'm spending time with her. I only play games when she's in bed, and well, her bedtime is usually around 8 o'clock in the evening, and I usually head to bed at around 9 or 9:30 because I work pretty early in the morning, so haven't had too much time lately to record. So I thought I'd just do a quick video on just a bunch of old screenshots from my account from way back in the day. I've been playing WoW since just a couple months after it first launched. When did it launch? November of 2004, I think. I think I started in very early 2005. And I just thought I'd share with you guys a bunch of the screenshots I've taken over the years. Sadly, I've lost probably over 50% of my screenshots due to transferring the game from computer to computer and over the years and just forgetting about transferring some of the screenshot folders. Anywho, well, as you can see here, this is a screenshot of my very first time ever downing the beast in, what was it, Upper Blackrock Spire, I think is where this is again. And, well, of course, I, like a lot of other people, I'm sure, took a lot of screenshots of my first kills of raid bosses and dungeon bosses and stuff like that. This is a random one. I noticed one day an anchor showed up in the sand outside of Gadgetzan. There never used to be one there, and I noticed that every day, every single day, that anchor was tilted a little bit more, a little bit more, and a little bit more, and it was just interesting to me. Chronolus, he was one of the elite drakes that hung out next to the Caverns of Time entrance back when the Caverns of Time wasn't open. And on my hunter, I used to really enjoy kiting elite mobs to a populated urban center, you could say. And just watch the mayhem ensue. Ah, I know what's going on in this screenshot now, I remember. My friend and I decided it'd be fun to kite those invincible mobs from, Blasted Lands, those Servants of Razalik and Servants of Grawl and stuff like that, that could only be killed during a certain quest by, I think, breaking a crystal next to them or something. So if you kited them anywhere, and somebody didn't break that crystal near them, of course, then they couldn't be killed. So I kited them all the way to High Lord Bolvar Fordragon, and, well, as you can see, its health is at 1, and it's not gonna die. And, me and my friend each kited one, and we got bored eventually and logged out, and when we, went and had supper and watched a movie and stuff, we logged back into the game, and Fordragon was like just 1% health and we watched him die. We were responsible for an Alliance major leader dying that day. Yeah, we were traitors. Our very, very first time entering Molten Core. Obviously, this would have been a big, big thing to us, because we hadn't done any raids before back in the day, and, well, it takes quite a bit to get 40 people together to do a raid, all in the same time frame in one workday evening. Obviously, you'll see a few screenshots like that, and you'll see I played a healer, and I kept my bars organized in a certain way. Coming up to Gehennas? Yeah. Yeah, so like I said, you'll see a few random raid screenshots. I died halfway through that fight, but we still managed to take him down. And then, of course, we all gather around for the screenshot. Gar. Gar was a pretty interesting fight. I liked the exploding mobs, but my one of my warlock buddies, I can't remember exactly what they did. I think it was bind demon or something like that, or banish. They used to lure these mobs towards me and then DPS the crap out of them, and then when they'd explode, my healer would go flying through the air. It was just became this big kind of joke between us. The warlocks would always try to kill me. Teramus the Devourer, my first time seeing him. And then my first time also kiting him. It became a nice fun little habit of mine, because back then Blizzard didn't have a leash on any mobs. And Teramus had an ability where when he did this Shadow Nova type deal, it would heal him for every person he damaged. So even though he wasn't the world's toughest mob, he became almost invincible in a major city. From that kill, because I tagged him, I got 3 flawless Draenithist spheres, which you could turn in the Blasted Lands. And here's the 3 items I got from it. Strange item setups back in the day. Hydralic armor with 13 strength, 8 agility, 20 stamina, and 10 fire resistance. Although the agility also benefited, was a benefit to warriors and such. A lot of warriors would try to get agility on some of their gear for, I think, better crit. Executioner's Cleaver was another item I picked up from that, and the last one was Mugthal's Helm. Strength, stamina, and spirit. That's a strange combination. Cutting a Black Drake from, what is it, Burning Steps into Lakeshire. Yeah, that became a habit of mine. Turning in a quest to Duke Hydraxis, I had a habit of doing what you're going to see in the next screenshot. Dinging. I used to take screenshots when I knew I'd be dinging level 60. It was like this big achievement for me. And I used to take screenshots of just strange effects in the game. When my mage became poisoned and he turned green, his spell effects turned green as well. So it looks like I'm shooting a mist of poison everywhere. First time seeing Lucifron. And in case you're wondering about the weird order of all these screenshots, it's the screenshot database orders them by the date. So sometimes over the course of a year or 2, screenshots get very muddled. There was this big event in, was it Moonglade or whatever, where there was this big event with Aranicus the Tyrant, and he became a big raid boss who beat the crap out of the combined forces of the Alliance and Horde. He sent out these shades that just murdered everybody in a big Shadow Nova. And Tyrande was there healing. Her mass healing spell did a hell of a lot of healing for that for the level and the amount of health people had back then. A decently geared Clothy would have maybe 10k health, so that's a hell of a lot of healing. A lot of people showed up for this event on both sides, both factions. Yeah, those shades were everywhere. Keeper Remulos, we had to keep him alive, otherwise we failed. I was kiting yet again a Devil Sword from Ungoro into Silithus right up to the tower. During the opening of the Gates of Anchorage event, man, that was a hell of an event. I don't think we'll ever see something on this scale ever again, even though the servers have improved. But back then, I think you would crash 20 times just trying to get to Silithus, and half the time when you hopped on the boat or something to head over to Kalimdor from Eastern Kingdoms, your boat would end up beached somewhere in Stone Talon Mountains or somewhere weird like that. I think it took me over an hour just to reach Silithus without getting glitched somewhere or the game crashing. I think one time I made it to Silithus, Then my game lost connection, and when I reconnected, I was in Ironforge. I was frickin' furious. But still, it was a hell of an event. Just the whole lead-up with the Horde and Alliance having to gather supplies for this huge invasion to fend off the army of the Silithid. And then, just all these NPC armies showing up and such. And as I said before, the screenshots are all in a weird order, so here's our first downing of Lucifron. Just a random screenshot I took afterwards for some healing meters. Back then, occasionally, I liked to see how I did on the healing compared to the rest of the guild, and I was usually #1. That doesn't really mean much, I guess. Sure, I did the most healing, but it might mean that I just spammed a bunch. You never know. First time seeing Hakar. Another fun fight. I was viewing Lucifron through my priest spell, where I could view things safely. Whole bunch of numbers on this screen. But a little bit of story behind this. My best friend and I, we've come up with plenty of interesting combinations back in vanilla, where we could duo instances at our appropriate level without the rest of a group. Just the two of us. Usually we brought 2 paladins, but sometimes my paladin was all we needed to hold everything and self-sustain, and while my buddy would just bring in his hunter and just DPS the crap out of everything. But we had a lot of fun. Like, we cleared all the way through Nomergon. We cleared Blackrock Depths, etc. Like 100% cleared. Just the two of us with 2 paladins. It took a bloody long time, but we just did it for the hell, like, for the sake of doing it. Only reason I'm taking a screenshot here is I'm on top of one of these huts during the, what's he called, Gazranka or Gazrilla in Zul'Gurub. He did his knock in the air AoE attack, and it ended up knocking me clean onto this hut, so I just stayed up there for the rest of the fight and was able to heal the rest of the guild safely without taking damage, so I thought that was awesome. This is just the first time I snuck in the back door of Aldermen. Is that what it's called again? I'd never seen this entrance before, and thought I'd sneak around and take a look. I was still very fresh at the game and wanted to see the place. And as before, this is obviously a screenshot from Burning Crusade, as I've got a Draenei. But I thought this Spectral Griffin mount was really neat. My successful attempt with 3 other guildies and 1 priest healing us, we were all grouped up together to get our epic paladin mount, so that was quite the fun quest chain back in the day. I really enjoyed it. Then, of course, taking screenshots in Ironforge afterwards, and then doing a celebratory raid of Thunderbluff, where we decided to go and kill their flight master. Screenshots of us downing Gar. And by the way, in the in this note, I never did level up a warlock until near the tail end of vanilla, so I never did do that big quest for the warlock Felsteed, or Dreadsteed, I should say. But I did assist in that quest plenty, as a holy priest was in high demand in vanilla, quite so. Another weird screenshot in Aldermen. When you're opening up the Iranaya's chamber, I thought it would be interesting and make it look like a beam was shooting out of my character's mouth. The Kuranax fight in AQ20. Then General Rajax. That was a really fun but sometimes brutal raid fight because of the sheer army of mobs that gets thrown at you. And Mome was a really interesting fight that wiped a lot of guilds if they didn't know what to do in this fight. I didn't actually heal during this fight, as holy priests, or just priests in general, I mean, were supposed to mana drain Mome. And I think if his mana filled up, then a really devastating attack would happen. I can't remember, but I do remember having the mana drain him. I think I recall that's what I had to do back in the day. Then a celebratory couple screenshots, some random screenshots of bears dancing, and my buddy dancing in his sexy blue dress. First time using one of those runes in Molten Core, so that you can get ready to unlock the whole Major Domo Executus fight. This is, oh, where the heck did I find this? Way in the southern half of Winter Spring? There was this tough area full of really, really brutal elite mobs, and there was a raid portal behind this gate, and there was a lot of rumors that it would lead to Hyjal. But this area was never ever expanded upon, and never did lead to Hyjal, not for a while at least, and not in this way. Yeah, just a few random screenshots here and there. This elite mob that we found in there. I think this guy might have been related to a quest involving Elementium ore, the legendary ore from Vanilla, not the regular ore from Burning Crusade or Wrath or whatever. Couple of my first screenshots of Zul'Gurub. One of my very, very earliest screenshots that I didn't lose, at least, of a school of fish flying in the air for some reason. Just random game glitch. The first time we downed Executus. And then him getting ready to summon Ragnaros. Obviously, this would have been a very epic event for us at the time, first seeing it. Well, enough standing around with screenshots, guys. Eris Havenfire. I remember this quest. This is for the Benediction / Anathema staff, the epic priest-only staff. Only priests and hunters had an epic quest chain to get a really, really, like, practically legendary item back in Vanilla from 2 quest starting drops from Executus's quest chest. This was quite the little encounter. You had to fend off hordes of undead while curing and healing entire large groups of escaping villagers without letting too many of them die. And just like with the Hunter quest, if you get assistance, you fail the whole thing. But my buddy here on his Paladin is using Concentration Aura, so I didn't lose too much cast time from getting hit, and he stayed near the bottom of the hill once I started the whole encounter. It kind of made it easier for me. And then here's me showing off my Benediction staff once I got it after the quest. Downing Hakar. That's little Zandalari Island off the coast near Zul'Gurub, where you could turn in all those little troll tribe icons, those whatever they were again, the coins or something, for reputation and for getting certain set items that were pretty handy. First time seeing Onyxia, and promptly dying to Onyxia. My buddy had a weird glitch where his title and name were, like, bloody massive compared to everyone else. People could see him from clear across the map. It wasn't just me who was seeing this. Another first-time screenshot of Raggy. High Priest Thekel. This was a guy involved in the event for the opening of the Scarab Gate. Another screenshot of the event, I believe after the gate was opened, as I'm obviously standing inside it. Bethic, Temple of Bethic fight. one of my first times getting up close to Karazhan, taking a few screenshots. I thought this tower was really ominous and spooky looking back in the day. So I tried to get a bunch of screenshots. Downing Ragnaros. Or Ragnaros, whatever people call him. Heh. All of us getting ready for the battle for Darrowshire. This was quite the tough event. You practically needed a raid group to finish it, if you weren't, like, well geared. Or high level, even. A five-man group could do it with decent gear and decent skills, but if you were still, like, you know, leveling up and all that and not knowing too much about the whole mechanics of the game yet, because you might not have, well, this is quite the encounter. So we gathered a bloody army to do this fight. Another first screenshot of the Kuranax fight, and then later a Burning Crusade screenshot. My mage dinging 60. If you remember Ras Frostwhisper from Skullomance, you'll know that he was a lich, but here he's a human. I did a specific quest chain that I can't remember which one it is. Obviously it wouldn't exist in the game anymore, but you could actually turn him back into a human. And he was pissed. And no matter what the tank did, Ras was angry at me. I had all the aggro in the world, and Fade wouldn't reduce that aggro any. I just kept running around, healing myself, running for my life, while everyone else DPS'd him down. Couple double screenshots, I'm sure. This was after our first time downing Thorison. Few obligatory screenshots of us celebrating and sitting on his throne. Me pretending to kneel before the Gnome King. Random glitches where some of these dragonkin would die and their bottom half would fall to the ground in their death animation, but the top half would stay upright. It was just freaky. I thought this was a really scenic view, so I took a screenie of it. Bloodlord Mandakir. We used to line up all the ranged and healers up on this area because it affected his charge when he watches somebody. I think it made it so you could survive it a bit easier. My first time ever, obviously, seeing the Dark Portal before it ever became open. And it was hard to get there. There were a lot of elite mobs in the way, and they hit hard. I got transmogged into a demon. As you'll see, I'm targeting Artorias, Artorias the Doombringer or something. Man, now that, this was a long time ago, of course. This came out, I don't know when the game Dark Souls came out, but that name Artorias. Now that reminds me of something else. For any of you Dark Souls fans out there. Clinfran the Craze. So obviously from these last two screenshots, I was doing the Hunter epic quest chain for Rok'Delar and Lok'Delar, the epic bow and staff combination that you'd get for doing a very, very difficult quest chain to down several of these mobs. 4 of these elite demons that you had to handle on your own. If you had help, then they would just disappear and say they're not going to do a fair fight. And they might even just one-shot the person who helped you. My first time ever seeing the petrified tree guys in Fellwood. Another random screenshot of us first downing Ragnaros. Another funky death animation. First time seeing Airy Peak. Just a random couple screenshots of me and my friend goofing around. It's just another stupid screenshot of some DPS meters on the bottom left, but also me showing off Lok'Delar, the staff. I don't think I have an intact screenshot anymore of Rok'Delar, though. This is when my buddy got his lava dredger, and he was quite happy about it as he played a feral druid, and it was quite handy for him. Thought this was a nice view in the burning steppes. First time downing, what's he called, a Syrian? Yeah, the Unscarred, I think. And then the little event that you turn in his head for afterwards. I found this guy for the first time in Everlook, and I thought it was interesting that I was playing a character named Scourgebane, a paladin named Scourgebane, and I met Cyril Scourgebane, so, you know, I was young. I thought it was neat. First time downing Razorgore. Man, the first two bosses in Blackwing Lair, they were guild breakers, but we managed to get our way through eventually with a hell of a lot of banging our head against a brick wall. Razorgore and, yeah, here we go, Valestraz. This guy got pretty brutal at times, too. Chromagus. Celebrating after I became the Ogre Chief in Dire Maul. Couple times flying over, well, my first time, I guess, flying over the Ironforge Airport. I thought it was a neat sight. Random site where everybody on the boat almost decided to hop on top of the same box, because I think that's the only place on the ship that you could mount, and you could easily just quickly jump off the boat and get back on the dock and run without getting dismounted, so everyone did this. There's a weird glitch or a hack, I don't know what it was, but this one Horde character was following my priest around, and he did something where he was able to mount my horse and sit in the exact same spot that I was occupying. Now, I've lost a lot of my screenshots of the after event, but if everyone remembers the Hakar corrupted blood event. This is in the very early stages when it first hit Ironforge on my server and people were starting to drop like flies left, right, and center. This is nothing compared to some of the screenshots I used to have. You couldn't see the pavement. It was nothing but skeletons everywhere. And sometimes the whole auction house would look like skeletons regardless because of people whose pets would be the bomb from one of those bosses in Molten Core. They'd dismiss their pet when they got the debuff and then resummon them in the auction hall, and then they'd explode and take out everyone who didn't have enough health. This is Nelson the Nice, another one of those hunter-only epic quest mobs who's actually a demon in disguise. First time downing Ebonrock and Flamegore in Blackwing Lair. Also, one of my very earliest screenshots. I thought it was weird to polymorph a squirrel, and it looks like a sheep, and when you kill it, it died as a sheep still, and it says squirrel. You know, I was young. I thought it was funny. The random facial swaps when you load into an area. This guildie of mine playing a dwarf had his face swapped with another with a night elf guild guildie's face. That's pretty disturbing looking. Random screenshot from in Blackwing Lair, taking down Chromagus, about to fight Nefarian. So of course we all take screenshots around his throne. Mock him, I guess. There was a random mob that I saw wandering around Silithus one day, and I got some guildies to help take him down. Never seen a mob like that before in the game, so thought it was pretty neat. Franklin the Friendly, another one of those hunter-only quest mob demons. Lava graphics glitch. Showing off Benediction again. This is from an event where you expose Lady Prestor, is her name, I think? as actually a Nixia. But I think I missed out on some of the screenshots later on where she transforms. More screenshots after somebody kited Taramis into the city, and it wasn't me for once. Actually, it might have been me, even as a priest. Okay, yep, obviously it was me. Well, and somebody else. I think this was part of the AQ opening event. Downing Nefarian for the first time. One of the 4 world dragons I was mucking about. First time seeing him on my hunter at level 32. Needless to say, I wasn't about to get too close to him. But eventually he spotted me and I died. Screenshot I decided to take of the very, very first time I found an epic item out in the world. It was in one of those, Hive Regal down in Silithus. Agility, stamina, and spirit. Kind of an odd combination, but hunters, I think, still went for it because hunters used mana back in the day and the spirit helped regenerate it quicker. Another quick screenshot before the Darrowshire event, or afterwards, I guess. Obviously, I like taking a lot of screenshots. During the Nefarian fight, when the mages had their class call and I got polymorphed into a cow. I don't remember exactly what's going on in this screenshot, but this is in the Scarlet Hold, which was very difficult to fight your way through, and obviously my buddy here was able to give himself a sex change. The Prophet got real annoying when we were first starting AQ40, especially when he did that phase every 25%, I believe, where he split. Not sure exactly what's going on in this screenshot. Ah, yes, bottom left there. They were rolling for gear and 2 people rolled 100. And we were like, whoa, what do we do now? First time ever seeing Grim Batal and kind of being in awe about it. Like a really old, mossy, rusted iron forge. Always wondering what was behind that gate. First time taking down the Bloodlord. Obviously, a bunch of screenshots. This is my first time ever downing Taramis before I learned how to kite him and all that and have fun. Just dicking around. Obviously, we gathered quite the group of people to take him on. I was trying to level up my unarmed and I decided to start punching the crap out of those deep run rats. More screenshots of me kiting, this time Servants of Grawl instead of Razalik, to the High Lord 4-Dragon. This is a random one when we were about to fight one of the bosses who was optional in Skullomance on the porch area, the balcony. This was us celebrating after killing Nathanos Blightcaller. Just for the hell of it. I don't think we had a quest. We might have. I don't remember half the quests from vanilla. And then later on going and hanging out in front of why am I forgetting the name? Anyways, the orc capital city that I suddenly can't remember the name of for some reason. Orgrimmar. Damn, that took forever. And obviously in vanilla, there wasn't a legit way to get up to the Ironforge airport unless you wall glitched your way up there. So, took a few screenshots and I did that. And we're back at the start now. So, I hope it was entertaining enough for you guys to just watch a bunch of the random screenshots I've taken over vanilla and a little bit of Burning Crusade. I've lost pretty much every other screenshot I've ever taken. So that's unfortunate, but I hope this was a nice trip down memory lane for everyone, and if you didn't play vanilla, maybe you found it interesting to see some of the stuff and just see what the game looked like back in the day. And even just notice a bunch of things. Let's see if I can quickly find a raid screenshot. Like, notice the short duration of buffs. 15 minutes was the most that the Paladin group buffs would give back in the day. And they started off with no group buffs, if I recall. I think back then they were just 5-minute buffs, and you had to apply them person by person by person. So by the time you buffed everyone, your buffs would fall off halfway through the next boss fight. Alright, everyone, I'll quit yapping here and go have some cough medicine. And I'll hopefully get back to recording some videos again in the near future. Till then, everyone, take care.